What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to your $15,000 Eidl grant and 24 months of working capital update. It is Thursday, July the 8th, 2021. Please do me each favor, give this video a thumbs up. Hashtag Eidl with your comments below. And don't forget, make sure you follow me on Twitter at TrySmallBiz, where I'm currently sparring with the House Committee on Small Business, including Jackie Rosen, sponsor of S513, who has done 256 tweets since she reintroduced the Eidl Small Business Act, known as S513. And to my knowledge, according to my friends who have checked every fucking tweet, she has said absolutely nothing about getting you, those of you that are in middle to high income communities, the $10,000 Eidl grant that you were promised in the CARES Act. So in today's very short video, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to cover some very good news, some very confusing comments that we've gotten in the last 48 hours. Why in the world is the SBA have about half of their loan officers that are moving forward without 4506T? And what's this business about some of them saying, just go ahead and send it to me and I'll process the loan? So pull up a chair. Grab a cup of coffee, ice cold beer, glass of wine, whiskey on a big rock, mug of tea. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Psycho Bunny. In case you're wondering, what's that bunny meets a skull and crossbone? It's a brand out of New York City. It started in 2005. I was born not in the city. I was born in Buffalo. But I spent a lot of time on Wall Street. You guys know the story. But it started as a necktie company, very upscale necktie company. They've branched off. I love how the t-shirts fit. So you've seen me in Michael Kors. You've seen me in some cheap Game of Thrones from Target. They're like $9 a piece. Now I'm introducing Psycho Bunny, ladies and gentlemen. So look, because that's how I feel today. If you watched the last two videos, and I encourage you to scroll down through over 1,200 comments, you're seeing a lot of crosswinds that are absolutely crazy. And I want to thank the ones that have sent me emails and screenshots in the last couple of days. So here's the deal. It's the typical 2 steps forward, 1 step back. As I've said before, it all comes down to your loan officer. We talk to a lot of people at the SBA. So does Ryder over at Skip. So does Max Maher. So does Speak and See. We're all hammering them, whether it's on YouTube, Twitter, direct, indirect. We're doing the best we can together as a team to get you this money, whether it's the grants or the loans or both. But we have a situation right now where half or thereabouts of all the loan officers are going ahead and processing the loans without 4506T. But then we have about half, or close to it anyway, that are still sitting there saying, nope, I'm not going forward until I get your 4506T. If you have one of those pricks, you need to do the following. I will pin a CNET article explaining how there's 35 million filings on backlog at the IRS. In other words, there's no way in hell they're going to be able to get upwards of 2 million 4506Ts out for those that are looking for 24 months of working capital anytime soon. So you send them that and you say, look, I am hearing friends of mine and I see all over the news about half the loan officers are processing without the 4506T or with a stamped copy. So why in the hell are you holding me up when there's no way in hell we're going to get anything from the IRS anytime soon? So I will pin that article. It's worth a shot. But here's an even more bizarre scenario. We had 3 people this morning send me an email where their loan officer says, just go ahead and send me a copy of your stamped 4506T. And I'll go ahead and process the loan. And then we had another guy, you know who you are, had the same thing happen. And then the next day, the loan officer said, whoops, I can't actually process it until I get the 4506T. So here's the deal. It all comes down to the loan officer you get. If you've got a prick that insists every I is dotted and every T is crossed, you're up shit's creek without a paddle, although I'll tell you how to handle that in a second. But those of you that have an SBA loan officer, like the ones I talked to for the last 16 months, they realize this is a fiasco. They realize that there's 33,000 or 35,000 out of 2 million that have been funded in the last 5 fucking months with respect to the 24 months of working capital. So they got to get a move on. And there's a new department, as I said the other day. The Office of Disaster Assistance, which was a disaster, is off the case. The team that handled the PPP loans last year that moved really fast through the system, they're now in charge of the Eidl program. So it's going to come down to who you get. If you get someone who understands they got to get a fucking move on, or they're never going to get through a couple of million people, or a prick. So if you get a prick, you got to get, I can't believe how many of you won't listen to me when I tell you to do this. Get your senators, congressmen, or women to send you a privacy release form. It's basically a power of attorney. You're going to have to call and you're going to have to email. In the email, privacy release form. Hi, Senator so-and-so. I live in district such and such. I think you're great. However, I've got a major problem with the SBA. Tell them what the problem is. I need you to send me a privacy release form ASAP so I can sign it, and you can reach out to the SBA on my behalf. If I don't get my targeted Eidl advance, my supplemental, or my 24 months of working capital real soon, I might be forced to close my doors. And if you want to get professionally prickish like I would, and if that happens, I'm afraid I'm going to have to vote your ass out of office. Now, maybe I'd leave off the ass, but you get my point, ladies and gentlemen. We have 5 people, I counted in yesterday's video, 5 that did exactly what I just told them to do. And within 24 hours, the SBA loan officer reached out to that applicant after waiting in some cases up to 4 months and processed the fucking loan. So here's what's going on when that happens. You get Ted Cruz or Rand Paul or someone who's heavily connected and highly visible, even a Jackie Rosen or a John Cornyn, sponsors of S513, reaching out to in many cases, contractor at the SBA. They start shaking in their boots. They're like, oh my God, if I don't get this processed or over to someone who can, I might get fired. And I don't really want to get fired from the SBA. Are there any people out there who actually don't want to get fired by the SBA? I'm sure there's some, but my goodness, it's got to be a real shithole for many people to work at. Yeah, in case you didn't hear me, Miss Guzman, it's got to be a real shithole. And while I've got her on the line, Miss Guzman, thank you for speeding up the process. Thank you for transferring to another department who's actually going to process these grants and loans a hell of a lot faster. But like I said at the beginning of this video, we need you to come out publicly and say, we're getting rid of the 4506T. You cannot have, you talk about a lawsuit waiting to happen, you cannot have half of all the applicants getting processed because they have a loan officer that gets it, that the IRS is never going to get through their fucking backlog and get the documents over to the SBA on time. And then you've got the pile of pricks that just don't give a fuck about anybody, or they're just flat out ignorant because they don't understand the rules. So Miss Guzman, please come out publicly like the rumors are to be and say that we are now aligning the Eidl program with the 7A and the 504 loans. And in case you missed the video that I mentioned this the other day, those 2 SBA loan programs require the IRS to send a 4506T to the SBA or the SBA lender, which is a bank, within 10 days. And if they don't send it within 10 days, and there's no way in hell they're going to do it with 35 million backed up, the lender or the SBA has a right to process the loan like that. The only catch is the IRS has to send the transcript within 6 months. So if you lie or you're way inaccurate, more than that 25% variance in terms of what you put your 2019 gross revenue to be and what it eventually comes back 6 months later on your 4506T, they have a right to claw back the loan. Or at a minimum say, hey, you put $100,000 on your application, your 4506T that we just got at Christmas time of this year from the IRS says you only had $62,000 in revenue. So unless you can explain the discrepancy, and in many cases you can, because that's what happened to me. Unverifiable information, I'll get to that in a second. If you're outside of 25% away, meaning if you're below 75,000 and you put 100, it's an automatic decline. But if you can explain it, say, hey, I did an estimate, I hadn't done my taxes on time, I took an extension, they will, in most cases, as they did with me, go off the actual number on your 4506T. So if they adopt these rules, they might say, okay, we gave you a $155,000 loan, 24 months of capital, based on the gross revenue number that you put on your application. We just got your 4506T 6 months later, and I'm sorry, we're going to have to claw back $30,000 of that loan. So hopefully at that point, if you can't explain the difference, you didn't spend the entire amount. So that's why I want to encourage, before I talk about unverifiable information, folks, set this money aside if you don't need it. I still have every dollar of last year and this year's loan. It's a good nest egg. I can somewhat sleep at night, more than 3 hours in many cases, knowing that that money is there. It's a sizable six-figure amount. But if you need the money, only spend it on what you can, rent, payroll, business credit cards, etc. And try to save as much of it as you can. Because if they change these rules, which will speed up the process big time with respect to the loans, and you're somehow off, they may come a calling for some of that loan. And if you honestly made a mistake and it was your fault, you can say, okay, no problem. I'm sending back 30 grand. I still kept 125,000, spent about 60,000 of it, still have some of it left. Easy peasy, no problem. In fact, you would actually owe less when you have to start paying back the loan in 18 months. All right. Unverifiable information as quickly as I possibly can. In most cases, it has to do with that 25% variance. They've gotten a hold of your 4506T, and it says unverifiable information when you get kicked back. I'm talking about the loan now, the 24 months of capital, not the grants. Because what you put on the application, just like what happened to me, is more than 25% away from what that 4506T says. Now, if they don't have your 4506T, and some of you still haven't gotten the transcripts to the SBA, then it has to do with something simple. You didn't spell your business name exactly the same. I've seen people that had a comma where there was supposed to be a dot, unverifiable. Your routing number or your banking number was one digit off, unverifiable. But most of the time, recently anyway, when you're getting hit with that, it's because they've got your 4506T and your income is unverified, but you can explain it. I got through 3 reconsiderations in total, if you include last year, because I overestimated my 2019 revenue. So the bottom line is this. It all comes down to who you get. You got to get on the phone with those tier 2 supervisors at least once a week. You got to tell them exactly what's going on, how many times you've called and emailed, because by the way, if we ever get to class action lawsuits and we're able to verify that subject A called and emailed the SBA 74 times over a 6-month period and couldn't get a fucking answer, that's going to lean heavily in our favor. And I can't stress enough, Psycho Bunny and I would like to remind you once again, if you get your senators in particular, they've got more clout than the House members do, to send you a privacy release form, and they reach out to their direct contact at the SBA and they start shaking and knowing that, okay, if I don't get this solved or passed over to someone who can, I'm going to be up shit's creek without a paddle. And we had 5 people, I think I mentioned it earlier in this video, 5 people in the last 24 hours got their senators to poke the SBA, and after waiting in one case over 4 months, they got their loan processed, and within 7 to 10 days of approval, that money will show up in your business checking account. So, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, I hope I made some sense. After 16 long fucking months, I and Psycho Bunny now is on the team, are still fighting on behalf, and we ain't going anywhere until it's 10 grand regardless of size, location, or credit score, 24 months of working capital, $2 million caps, which is supposed to be announced any day now. And yes, Big Ben fucking Cardin and I, who has been a major disappointment, are going to work together so that if you apply for an Eidl loan with respect to the you-know-what pandemic, you would not pay the SBA friggin' dime.